Hey, this is Dan, just at the start of the episode to say this episode is sponsored by my comic book series Grey, which another issue of is currently funding on Kickstarter. I'll talk a bit more about that partway through the episode. Hello and welcome to Hey, I Loved That Movie, the podcast where we rewatch the films we loved when we were younger to see if they still hold up. I'm Dan.
I'm Michael.
I'm Helena.
And for this episode, we've got returning guest, it's Damian Robb.
Hey guys, thanks for having me back.
It's nice to have you back.
Yeah.
What movie have you bought for us today?
I've brought 2005's Fantastic Four.
Cue music.
Yeah.
I forgot what the music is.
What the music is. No, I remember the music. It is weirdly like old Hollywood orchestra.
And there's a
And
Sum
then-
41 song in it.
Yeah, with pop songs.
Just
thrown
like-
in.
Oh
It's
yeah,
out of
so
nowhere.
2000s. Yeah.
Such a strange movie.
That was a real like hold the phone moment for us. Like, is that Sum 41? That sounds like Sum 41. But they wouldn't
41.
put Sum
Yeah.
41 in a film like they have. I looked it up. They did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brave to say the least.
Yeah. So what's your like childhood connection to this? What's your connection to this film?
So like for this one, I think at the time, I can't like, it's a good movie for your guys' show because it's one that I'm like, I think I liked it at the time, but I would have only liked it because like it was superheroes and I was into that. Because obviously this came out after the Sam Raimi Spider-Man, which was mostly holds up, I think. I think it's not so bad in super, like obviously it's such an interesting one compared to the glut of superhero stuff we have now. And obviously that they are of varying qualities, but definitely better quality than what we saw in 2005 with the smash hit of Fantastic Four paired with Sub 41. But yeah, I think at the time I thought it was like, oh cool, I just get to see comics I'm familiar with up on screen. And also like I had bad taste in movies then, so like I probably thought this rocked, you know. What about for you guys?
I watched this a lot as a kid, and I think it's for the same reason of like it was just an action film. Like I was ready to watch a fun superhero-y action film, and
Yeah.
you know, when you're a kid, you're like, I don't care if these films are good. I remember it being better
Yeah.
acted, and I don't know why. Like that's a specific thing in my head. It's like I remember
Yes.
it being better acted.
I think because
Yeah,
kids have no
for
concept
sure.
of what good acting actually is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Because you're
maybe.
used to
Yes.
like if it's aimed at kids, it's all over expressive and a bit weird. That the kids
Right.
don't understand wooden or
oh yeah, no, this was like, the
surreal
whole-
acting. Where this
Mm.
film is just so. There were just so many strange choices. Like, why did they have?
Yeah.
Why is Jessica Alba white?
in it.
Yeah. Why is she got blonde
Yeah,
hair
yeah.
and contact lenses in?
Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
And you know, if they really wanted a blonde Hollywood actor, couldn't they have picked
Hmm.
one of them? And if they wanted
Right.
her, why did they have to do that?
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
couldn't they have?
Yeah.
Oh, it's why couldn't they have a Hispanic actor on there?
yeah.
But by God, this comic book's on the nose. Having the bad guy called Victor Von Doom.
That's
Oh,
comic
yeah.
books in general though. Every
Yeah,
comic
I
book has
know.
that.
I know, but it's like, oh, I wonder who the bad guy's gonna be.
Oh yeah, and he's like he's the absolute archetype of smarmy rich bad guy. Like there is zero subtlety to it at all.
Which I think is quite good for kids, though. It is nice and black and white.
That's true enough. Do you think this movie is for kids? Like the Jessica Alba thing's interesting because like I read that once they hired her, then they wrote the scene for where she has to get into her underwear or is revealed in her underwear. Isn't that so creepy? But this movie is it's just like it's very male centric, chauvinistic sort of movie. But so then I'm like, well, is it aimed at kids or is it for the lads in the room? Like I can't really pick even where this movie's sitting.
It's almost like those bits are for the dad, which is
Or it's
a
for like,
horrible
yeah.
thing to say, but
or
it's
it's
like,
yeah,
like
that's
a
probably
like a teenage boys movie, like
Yeah.
like we
that's
found with
probably
Wanted.
more what it is.
yeah,
Yeah.
sort of
Yes,
just it's a bit horny, but it's very
Really?
safe about it.
Yeah, because I remember.
Obviously,
Right.
when she's naked, you can't see her,
Yeah.
which is a good way of keeping that rating low.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I don't think it's a teenage boy film because the action scenes aren't good enough. There's not like big explosions and stuff. There's no like teenage boy action.
I
scenes.
mean, apart from them getting ripped to shreds by a solar flare.
But there's no like all of the dialogue is way too. There's a lot of dialogue in this film. There's a lot of like characters just emotionally talking to each other.
Oh yeah, so exposition heavy. Yeah,
Yeah.
Doesn't scream teenage boy film.
yeah, it's weird. But then I guess like I think that the horniness is like, yeah, that's probably part of the reason why I liked it. I think I was the right age for a nice horny movie starring Jessica Alba. But also I remember like the Chris Evans scene where he first lights up out in the snow while they're skiing and snowboarding, which again is just like I feel like it's for teenage boys, but only in the sense that the guys who made it were teenage boys themselves, just still grown men. But like, you know, because like the way that he burns up makes the whole, like, makes a little mini sauna for them, and then it's like, want to join me? And then she does, and you're just like,
This is just the worst.
Yeah, this
What is
whole,
happening
like,
here?
that bad boy character that he plays is so cringy. That
Yeah.
like the scene where we're introduced to him, he's like on the motorbike and he like just pulls up next to a woman driving a car and kisses her
It's
So
and then
crazy.
drives off, and it's like
Yeah.
they don't know each other.
it's
Apparently
bullshit, though.
women just kiss men that are riding motorbikes.
yeah. I mean, I immediately wanted to go out and get a motorbike after that, obviously.
That might be actually, it might be one of those films where the directors were like, "This will be cool. Let's do this. This will be cool." to see."
Yeah.
And no one went, maybe we don't.
Yeah. Maybe we pull it in a bit there, gang. Yeah.
Maybe
we
we,
don't just do
maybe
that.
we focus on making the plot of the movie better.
No.
Yeah, should we
Yeah.
talk about the plot? Because it's just this is just like exposition.
Yeah.
Oh,
They
yeah.
this is like it's very franchisey in that respect, in that you can tell that it's set up for the second film,
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure it is. Yeah. Yeah.
because the bad guy doesn't actually die. Spoilers, he doesn't die.
No.
He just gets real stiff.
Yeah.
Don't say that.
Sorry, I did say it was
Hey.
a horny teenage film.
Exactly.
Yeah. Didn't we all watching this movie?
So the plot's kind of like, it feels like it's trying to explain like all of the backstory of the world, all of like the world building, and then it's just like, but it also desperately trying to get to the next action sequence. It's
Yeah.
such a weird sort of, and they're just blandly explaining the world, and then they go, and now
Right.
there's a fight, and now let's have a
Yeah,
fight.
Yeah. And then it's like pieced in with a few of those sort of character scenes where Ben Grimm's getting sad or he's defending his friend or whatever. Like, to me, the Ben Grimm plotline for this movie was the strongest part. I don't know if you guys felt it. Strong might be even a strong word for
Just
What, this
looking
is-
up who Ben Grimm is.
The thing.
Oh, so he was the
Oh,
thing.
okay.
You really connected with this movie.
Yeah. No, I was thinking the same.
I just have a bit of a blank space for names.
Right. Okay.
I know what the thing
Um,
is because that's
Yeah, it's a
a
memorable.
little bit
name,
more
at
cemented
least.
in my
Yeah,
head,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
names. I remember Jessica Alba being called Jessica Alba.
But yeah, like his arc, I thought was this. Even to call it an arc feels wrong. But I liked his character the most, and I liked that at least he like had something to chew on throughout this, and then obviously the flip flop between he's defending Reed so much at the start, Reed being Mr. Fantastic, Helena, and then obviously, but then even then like his flip to like, what have you been doing? You went out on a date. I'm livid. Like that flip, because I think Von Doom got in his ear for half a second and now he's angry again. Like again, they just sort of dropped in between these set pieces and everything like that. It just like there kind of did have some potential, but never even got close to meeting what it could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially like the really quite crass suicide attempt scene that ends
Oh,
up with a
yeah, yeah.
massive pile up, and then the guy like literally runs away. Like there's no particular
Yeah.
aftercare for this guy that was
Right.
about to kill
It's-
himself.
It's all played for humor, which
Yeah,
is like,
and
yeah,
it's like,
man.
yikes. And the guy's just like, it's not that, oh, are you okay? It's a like, you think you've got problems.
Right.
Which is not what
yeah.
you should say, just for the record. If
Yeah,
someone's
yeah.
on literally on the brink, on the bridge,
Right. Oh,
you
cheer
don't be
up,
like,
bro.
you know what?
You're not a rock monster.
It's not that bad.
Get over yourself. Yeah, insanity.
Yeah.
And that was really, really surreal. That it was like that they didn't even show him like sitting on an ambulance with a little foil
Yeah.
thing
yeah.
over him or something to show that he was being looked after. Like, no, this guy is just
He's gone.
gone, and it's all about the
Well, yeah,
Fantastic
they'll-
Four saving the pileup that they caused.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, that they cause, and then like even
The
the
Jessica Alba scene of her like how like quick, you need to cause a distraction, or you need to get past the blockage or whatever it is. So she strips off and then her comes out in her underwear, and then they kind of just walk across anyway, and it kind of didn't actually achieve anything arguably. Like
I think the only thing I sort of because the like electric box like sparks, and I assumed that's
Right.
what she did, but it doesn't really make
Oh,
it clear
really?
enough.
There's no distraction.
It
as
just
well.
seems like they've gotten her
Right.
naked, and then all of a sudden she's back and nothing's changed. It's
Yeah,
just...
Yeah. It's like
I,
change of plan. She's naked. Let's just walk through. No one's looking at us anyway. Like that's what
Yeah.
it felt like.
Yeah.
I fully felt like I blacked out in that scene because it was like her getting naked and undressing and then like kind of becoming invisible, and then like it felt like the next second they were like, "Thank you, you got us through. Now we're behind the barricade." Did I
yeah.
like not notice a bit of this film? Yeah, that
Christ.
was such a weird scene. But that's like the first time they openly use their powers,
Yeah, because that's when
Yeah.
everyone else sort of
Yeah.
notices
Yeah.
them. Yeah,
and they call them the Fantastic Four.
yeah.
When did the Incredibles come out?
Before
Doesn't-
this?
Was it before?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was
'cause he-
before.
No.
Yeah, I did.
Did read there was like they had to change mostly just some jokes because obviously there's so much similarity between their relationship and their powers and the Incredibles. And so yeah, apparently like there were some jokes that they had to change because basically Incredibles had already done it.
Yeah,
Ah.
2004.
Imagine thinking you've like written a really good like unique script, and then you're told,
Yeah.
no, you've someone else has already
Incredibles are
like done
Yeah,
this.
right.
This film does allow me to appreciate The Incredibles more. I forgot how good
Yeah.
that film is.
Right, that's the thing. Like comparing the two, and like they really don't even compare at all. Like obviously this one is forgotten to the annals of time, which it should be. Where like at least Incredibles stands on, and even like I think what the Incredibles gets about the Fantastic Four that this movie, which is the Fantastic Four, and misses it completely, is the dysfunctional family element. Like to me, that's what it really is. Like I've read some of the comics. There was I think it was Mike Carey did a run. They did the ultimate of all the different Marvel stuff a little, like maybe a decade ago now. But Mike Carey, who's a British writer that I think is awesome, he did a run on Fantastic Four and sort of like when they did the ultimate version, he kind of reintroduced them all and did the origin story all over again, but he could change things up because it was like alternative reality version of Marvel World sort of thing. And he just did such a great job. And a lot of it, I think, came through that dysfunctional family relationship, which is just so crucial for these guys. And then like not even a thing ever really. Like you forget that Sue and Johnny are meant to be brother and sister.
Yeah, it's such
Yeah.
a weird, like, the most you get is the whole, oh, Reed and Sue used to date and now they kind of want to be with each other. Ben's a bit angry
Yes.
and Johnny's just going around just trying to be a cool guy.
Yeah, he's obsessed with being cool, dude.
Yeah.
They do kind of like there's like 2 points in the film where they do bicker like siblings,
Mm.
and then it's completely forgotten. It's
Yeah.
not like a
Yeah,
consistent
yeah.
thing. It's like they argue. I forgot even what it's about, but they argue like actual siblings, and
Right.
it's like, and then we just don't talk about it anymore. Like we move on.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
don't know. And then one of them is a cool guy, and the other one turns invisible when she gets emotional.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like her character, talk about bad female character. Like obviously she's about the only female character. The other ones that we see are the Thing's now ex-wife, who even she's played for like, she comes down on the street in a sexy nightie and all this sort of stuff. Like the female characters in this movie just suck so bad. And like,
And
Sue
she's
Storm
immediately
could be good.
demonized for like not
Yeah.
being able to accept that her
Right.
husband has turned into a giant rock monster, and you're supposed to be like, what a bitch, what a horrible woman
Yes.
for
Yeah.
not sticking by her horrible rock monster in sickness and in health. It's like, well, actually, I think I'd probably need a minute.
Yeah,
But
that's
yeah, the scene, that whole like her taking the ring off and throwing, like putting it on the floor and
Mm.
walking away thing is like that's not something real people do.
yeah, that's a good call. Yeah, exactly. Like it's just, it's so two-dimensional.
And then he's like struggling to pick it up with his sausage fingers. But the thing I was trying to say about the whole Incredibles versus Fantastic Four thing was just obviously the collateral damage.
Oh yeah.
And that's something we've noticed. Like obviously it's a trope in a lot of these films where they
Mm.
save the day by causing billions in municipal
Unknown havoc.
damages.
Yeah.
Like they destroy this bridge.
Mm. And then they get cheered for it. Like that's the crazy. Like, hold on, none of this would have happened if it wasn't for the four of them. But then because they save a couple of people along the way, everyone's like, "Oh my god, these guys rock!"
Yeah, and that bridge is
Yeah.
now
No pun
unusable, and it's San Francisco, isn't it? It's the Golden Gate Bridge.
yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
It's like
I
a
thought that
major
was
think
thing.
red.
so.
I thought that was red.
Oh no, it's Brooklyn Bridge because it's in. Of course, it's in New York. Everything's
Yeah,
in
that's the
fucking
building.
New
Cool.
York.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but there's
The
now
geography
just like
section of the podcast.
one main entrance in and out of Manhattan is just unusable while they have to do
Right.
repairs on it. Like,
Yeah.
Well, not just repairs. I mean, at that point, don't you just build a new bridge?
Yeah,
Like they
probably.
broke every
Yeah.
single like spoke on
Yeah.
one. Ugh.
Also,
Might-
like
Yeah.
when the thing stopped, because he has to like stop a truck from hitting the guy. He definitely killed the guy inside the truck, right?
No,
Yeah.
he gets him out. He gets him out with the.
Oh, does he? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
He gets the whole chair out, and there's that bit where they like put the
Oh yeah, because
man.
he's trying to like undo
down.
it, isn't he?
yeah, no. If this
Yeah.
if this was a bit more realistic, he'd get the guy out and it'd only be the top half. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that truck got crushed.
yeah, and then like
Ugh.
the huge pileup behind them as well is like
Mm.
there's some big explosions there as well, and everyone just luckily manages
Oh
to get
yeah,
out
the
and run
bloomin',
away.
The gas canister truck
Yeah,
Yeah.
that just
yeah.
happened to be on the bridge
Yeah,
at that
yeah.
time.
The raise the stakes truck that was parked there.
yeah.
Well, while we're on like no consequences, there was a moment where Doctor Doom, when his doctor is like, "Hey, you fucked basically, dude. I don't even know how you're alive," and then he kills him, and then he walks away, and you're like, should there be some consequence here? Like the nurse or whoever's going to come in and be like, "Well, Victor Von Doom was his last patient. I'm pretty sure that's who killed him, right?" Like,
Is it the
But
guy
there's
with
no
the evil
consequence.
name?
Yeah, exactly.
The
Right.
guy
Maybe we
called
should check him
Doom.
out.
Yeah, I mean, are we supposed to assume he had hush money because like the whole thing is that he's now broke,
Right. Yes.
or was it Reed
yeah.
that's broke? Or they both broke? I was trying to keep track of who
think-
had lost the most money, but
I think Reed was
Right.
broke, went to Doom to get money to go to space to get space particles to heal people, and then
Yep.
instead they
he
all
gets
got
stretchy.
he got stretchy, and I was
Yeah.
like,
oh,
I
the
get.
stretchy animation. But yeah,
I
sorry,
get that it
carry
was
on.
Yeah.
played for laughs, but like the beginning bit where it's from like Ben Grimm's point of view, and you're expecting him to look and it's the Thing, it's like, and then it was like, oh, that's disappointing. Like I get that it
Right.
was kind of funny, but you'd think that as soon as they're back on Earth, their powers have happened. Not give it a few days, and now all of a sudden they're a bit different. Like,
yeah, that's true. As I'm like, I didn't mind that beat, but also it's like, well, if you do have new audiences coming in that are not familiar, they wouldn't understand what was happening. I guess they kind of would through context, I suppose.
I mean, the
yeah.
poster, I'm pretty sure, and the trailer. If you're going
Cool.
in
Yeah,
completely
yeah.
blind, yeah, but
You're
yeah,
like, wait, there's a rock monster in this movie? I had no idea.
like, what is that thing? Oh,
Oh, ooh, okay, well named. Well done, guys. Yeah. Maybe this movie isn't so bad.
Someone sat in the audience going, "Oh, well done." Oh.
oh, Mr. Fantastic, now I get it. Yes.
Right. Oh, he's just fantastic. Okay. Yeah.
Imagine like I never understood the Mr. Fantastic thing because you have the Invisible Woman, which she's called the Invisible Woman, right? Or
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Yeah.
or Invisalign. The Thing, the Human Torch, and then Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah, it's
you
out of
imagine?
nowhere.
Because he definitely named himself that. There was no like, because he does in the film. He's like, "I'm Mr. Fantastic." It's like, ugh,
Yeah, because there's no. What else is he going to be? Mr. Stretch.
the Rubber Boy.
Stretchy boy.
well, yeah, Elastic Man,
Yeah.
Man. But then that's
No.
probably too close to Incredibles for them to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think DC have a version of Plastic Man or something like that.
Mm.
Listeners are gonna lose it. They're probably screaming it out right now. But yeah,
We've never gotten anything right on this podcast. We're not.
okay,
smart.
I'm good. I'm in safe ground. I'm good in good company. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I just can't imagine anyone else in the group being happy that he's called Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah, exactly
Like,
right. And the thing is the thing. It is
Yeah.
the biggest slap in the face you've ever seen.
Like,
Well,
fair,
Yeah,
he's
that
angry.
scene is. I did understand that, like them being really upset that Johnny, his
Mm.
name, gave them names without like consulting, and it was like, look,
Yeah.
don't you realize that you've named us now? Like we don't get to change these.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Like
once
that's
you've
our
like announced it,
identity.
like you've actually taken away quite a lot of our autonomy here. And
Yeah.
he's like, well, whatever. It's we had to do it
Yeah,
sooner or
yeah.
later. And it's like, well, actually, he should take a little bit more like responsibility for how his actions affect others, and
It's
just
also-
doesn't. He doesn't have that
Yeah.
arc where it like he comes around and he's like super great and part of the team at the end. Like they do the team thing, but it's
Mm.
only because it's cool for him to do it.
Yeah.
It's
There's
convenient,
not
yeah,
like
yeah.
it's not like he has to do something that's actually difficult or even particularly like challenging for him.
Right.
They're like, oh,
Yeah,
don't go
yeah.
supernova, and then he's like, because you could kill everyone, and then he's like, but he's not like, oh, it could kill him,
Yeah.
or it could really hurt him or something. Like he has to do this thing to like the big spinny Human Torch thing at the end, and there's no stakes for him.
No.
Yeah, well,
He's never really at risk of losing his sister. He's not got there's no woman, surprisingly, there's no like girlfriend on the line for him.
Yeah.
He's just like breezing through this film.
Yeah, and he kind of comes out pretty good in the other. Like he doesn't. There's no arc for him. He doesn't learn a lesson. Like he's cocky and all that sort of shit. But then things kind of keep going well for him. Or when people call him on it.
Does he have an arc in the
awesome?
second film? Because I've definitely, I want to
Might
talk about the
be.
second film a little bit, because I have definitely seen that film more.
Yeah.
And I
That's
remember
a
seeing
surprise,
that
'cause
film
I've-
in the cinema.
I've never seen the second one, and I
I
don't know
know.
how.
I can imagine he has an arc in the second film because it's about someone else that can fly, and I imagine that's all
Ah.
they need.
Yeah, because it's the rise of the Silver Surfer, right? And
Yeah.
I remember I saw this and Terminator 2
Yep.
sort of around
Oh,
the
yeah.
same time. And they definitely merged in my head for quite a while.
Oh, that's very rude to Terminator 2.
Yeah, very. Very rude. But I'm like, Silverman. Yes. This must be the same character, right?
I think the second film is about the Silver Surfer being a better superhero.
Oh,
Like he's
okay.
just better at being a superhero than the Fantastic Four. And I think
Yeah, I
that
don't remember the
bothers-
plot.
No,
It was- I remember that I think Film 4 or ITV or someone bought
yeah, they got the
rights,
rights to it,
and
they
it was
play
on
it.
TV constantly. Not the first one, just the second
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Just the Silver Surfer one, yeah.
Well, it's cheap. It's cheaper.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
I think
yeah.
I think it's like Silver Surfer's a better superhero, and I think that bothers Human Torch better more than anyone else. I think that's it.
Yeah.
But the first
Oof.
film, his arc isn't his; it's everyone else's. So his arc is like everyone keeps telling him to stop doing cool stuff. Like that, everyone's like, stop, act like an adult, don't act like a kid, don't go supernova, you could kill everyone. Which
Yeah.
that scene when he's in the machine and he's trying to get hotter and hotter,
Ugh,
and then
Not a
he's
scientist.
like,
He's supposed to be a pilot or something, isn't he? Like,
Yeah.
and if someone
yeah.
says to you, stop
But
in a scientific experiment, like, you
There's
like-
stop.
this-
Because
this-
he's melting the equipment. He's got such disregard for stuff
Yeah.
around him.
Was it like-
In a little brother way, that is very accurate. We're like, no, stop, or I'll get
Yeah.
mum.
but it's like he's getting like as hot as the sun. Like he's getting
Yeah.
as hot as like hot enough to melt like a foot of steel, and they just spray him with like a cold like like and it's like that turns it off. That just immediately stops it from being hot. Like that
Yeah,
wouldn't-
yeah.
that absolutely wouldn't work. But like his arc is he goes from being told don't go supernova to we essentially stop being cool, and then the end of the film is we need you to be cool. Go and be cool.
Be sick again, bro.
Be
That was
sick.
awesome,
Yeah.
actually. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like don't use your powers in public. Oh no, actually, you were right.
Yeah,
we should
that's
be
his
arc.
heroes. like-
Yes. Yeah.
The logic of this movie is so all over the place. Like, even the fact that they've come back from space, they've clearly got some kind of crazy space virus or whatever, like who knows what. But they're just like allowed to treat themselves. There's no other governmental thing. No one's like doing crazy experiments on them.
Johnny just
Also, it's
walks
only
out the
3
door 'cause he
days.
can.
3
Yeah.
days of isolation.
Yes,
Which, to be fair,
yeah.
now is like you don't even get that for COVID.
Right. We're experts on isolation now. That is not how that would go down.
I mean, if nothing else, they'd be so irradiated that it wouldn't be safe
Right.
for other people to
Yeah.
be around them.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
exactly.
Like, they'd all be having to be in lead-lined rooms while it kind of wears off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's also like
yeah.
they do get like proper medical tests at the beginning from people outside of them. And
Right.
but the only person you really see it being done to is the Human Torch. When like a doctor gives him or a nurse gives him like tests his temperature, and he's like,
Right.
"I've got to go. I don't want to hang around." And it's like 200 degrees,
Yeah.
and she's like,
Yeah.
"Okay, bye."
She's like,
No,
okay, bye.
I think
Yeah.
if someone's
you go snowboarding.
temperature comes back at 200 degrees, though, you don't immediately think this person's turning into a Human Torch. You think my thermometer is really
You
broken.
wouldn't just let them run off.
No.
No,
No.
but he's
Yeah.
such a cool, smooth
Actually,
He's so
talker.
seductive. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
According to this, your internal organs should be boiling. Get back here.
Yeah.
But yeah, that he can just go. That he just has someone bring him a snowboard,
Yep.
and no one across the chain of command is like, don't give that guy a snowboard, because then he's
Right.
more likely to go
He's gonna
snowboarding, which
go.
we don't want him to do right now.
This radiation man's gonna go snowboarding for a bit.
It's really strange that whole. I think because they obviously they're so desperate to move the plot along that it can't
No, there's
possibly
no
be
time.
realistic. I mean, apart from the
Yeah.
whole like they go to space on a mission that's taken approximately 10 minutes to plan.
Yep.
Yeah, like they go the next day after convincing Von Däniken. Like then they're in
Like-
space. Then the very next day.
Yeah, it's that quick. It's that,
Yeah,
it's
that's
that
some like
quick.
that is some Elon Musk bullshit.
Yeah.
But,
Right.
That's why I was thinking that like they would get straight into them being the Fantastic Four, and you wouldn't have
No.
even longer of them fucking about as just people.
Right.
This
Like-
is an origins movie, and if anything we know about superheroes movies, when they make origin stories, they show you all of it
Yep.
as many
Everything.
times as
Yeah,
they
yeah.
possibly can.
Yeah.
Because I've
Yeah.
never seen the Fan Four Stick film that was made later. Pretty sure it's an origin film.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
was it one that was it so bad that they didn't make another one, or did they?
Oh
make
yeah,
another
no, the
one?
rights
Right.
have gone back to actual Marvel now, so
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
now
and
we'll get
all-
good Fantastic Four at some point.
Well, Fantastic
Yeah.
Four's cursed. There's never been a good Fantastic Four because there was an attempt in the 90s.
Well, there
that
was.
fell
It's called
through.
The Incredibles.
Yeah.
Yeah, which do they own? Yeah, but I think Disney own The Incredibles.
Yeah, it's Pixar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
but there's never been a good one because there was a failed Fantastic Four in the 90s. The 2000s, for some reason, they made two. I don't know how they made two.
Yeah, yeah.
The
And then
standard. It was a different time. The standard.
Yeah, it
was.
Having watched some other films from around that period,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
standard was
Right.
definitely different.
Different, not
Yes,
lower,
yeah.
just
It was,
different.
the focus
Different.
was on different things. Quality not
Yeah.
being the top
No.
of that list.
Some 41 were burning up the charts. It was a
I-
different, simpler time.
Oh, they were. Yeah, I remember singing that on like my friend's like dad's in my friend's dad's car, like when he was driving us
Right.
home from like a school trip, like just
Yeah.
absolutely screaming that out, aged 9, 10.
Yeah, yeah.
This episode is sponsored by Grey Issue 4, a comic book series that I've written and is currently funding on Kickstarter. It's the story of an ex-undercover cop who is back from the dead to take down the mob he was infiltrating. But now he's made of concrete. When you pledge, you can get digital and physical copies, posters, sketch cards of yourself, some of the original artwork, and there's even the chance to be drawn into the comic book yourself. Any backer will also receive the digital backlog as soon as I can send it out to you. The issue is funding until the 3rd of April, so check it out. The link is in the show notes. Back to the episode.
But I normally love that kind of the films from this era where they're just kind of bad but fun.
Mm.
This was just
Yeah.
bad and not fun. This was just bad.
Yeah,
There was
I
a couple
agree.
of jokes that they're not even good, but they were jokes.
Yeah.
I have to stop myself there because
Yeah.
I was excited that there was a bit that made me almost laugh, but then I was like, but it's not aged, it's not great. But there's the
Right.
a bit where they have their space uniforms before they go to
Mm.
space. So this is still pre Fantastic Fouring themselves, and it's that fancy material. I assume Gore-Tex, but whatever.
Right.
And Dr. Reed goes over to Jessica Alba's character. What's her name?
The
Sue
invisible
Storm?
woman.
Susan. What a great, what an exciting name. So Susan is wearing her uniform, obviously cut for the female physique,
Yeah,
with hella cleave.
So much
And
fun.
he's like, oh wow, he's like stunning. And
Yeah.
she's like, and then it's like he's looking at the material and like she
Yeah.
clocks it and looks a bit affronted, like,
Yeah.
mate.
She,
And then
she
obviously
wants
they,
to be hot. She wants to be horny, and it's not allowed.
yeah, and that I thought was kind of funny, but then I'm like, yeah, but it's still a joke where you're staring at Jessica Alba's cleavage. It's not.
Of course.
It's not
yeah,
great.
Yeah.
It was essentially
Yeah.
we want to stare at her body, but like not be creepy. We're not creepy. We're gonna.
Yeah,
tell you
we're gonna
not
stare at her body while saying science comes first, which is
scientifically
not
the
true. Yeah.
Yeah.
The costumes, I love that explanation that the costumes went
Yeah,
through the
yeah.
solar storm as well, so their DNA got changed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
DNA
just
got-
ludicrous.
Again, could have gone down the Incredibles route and had some amazing side
Edna Mode,
tailoring moment. Edna Mode of the
Right.
Fantastic Four would have been incredible.
Yeah.
But that would involve
Yeah.
having a female character that isn't a sex object.
Can't
have that.
God no! Oh my god. Well, like another logic thing that pissed me off for this movie was the fact that they're like, hold on, where did this storm come from? Like, it came quicker than we realized. That, you know, Reed must have done the math wrong or something like that. And then, like, it never really plays out. Like, there should have actually been tied to a character more, that it was like arguably someone's fault, whether it was because Von Doom rushed it, or he purposely sabotaged, or something, or that Reed isn't as perfect as everyone thinks, or whatever it is. But it was just like the major thing, that the inciting incident that causes it all isn't tied to character in any way. And I just thought, that is insanity. Like, you would never do that in today's versions.
I'd have had like Doom dying, like just of something, and then he's like, I need to get to space because I need to find something that can heal me. Because then you have like the irony of what actually happens to him, which is he becomes this immortal metal man.
Yeah.
Like, that would have been interesting.
Wait, is he
right?
not
He gets his wish in the worst possible way.
No, he's not Silver Surfer.
No.
What?
He's
Silver
Doctor
Surfer's
Doom.
an
Different
alien.
metal man.
He's
Also,
Doctor Doom. It said so. His name is Doom. Like.
Yeah,
Well, I thought he just sort of I assumed he did
rebranded.
he had a bit of a rebrand and thought, well, okay, I'm made of
Okay.
metal. I might as well be a Superman,
No, not quite.
a superhero.
Silver Surfer's an alien.
Like,
Oh.
everyone always
It's
goes on
wild.
about. Everyone goes on about in the comics that Doctor Doom is this incredible character, but I've only ever seen him in this. So.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's a narrow field. Yeah, like, that's the thing. Like, he's got this, like, crazy backstory with Latveria or whatever is the character.
Yeah, Latveria. That
Yeah.
was definitely one for the
Yeah.
comic book readers, because I was like, that just immediately took me
Vision?
out of it, and I was like, what the.
Yeah. He's like
The most,
the
like-
president or whatever it is of that area. Yeah. So he's
Go
like
back
in the
to
comics. he's-
Latveria, and I'm like,
Yeah.
hold on. Well, go back to where?
Also, like a weirdly xenophobic statement of like.
Right. Oh,
it's
yeah.
such like a weird, jarring thing for someone to say.
Well, I assume because it's a combination of what Algeria and Latvia, that it's a sort of small state country
Yeah.
that, I don't know, probably a tax haven for most of its like income or something. And I don't know,
Yeah,
beetroots.
basically. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was such a jarring. Go back to that. No, what?
I thought I did replay that bit. I did actually rewind because I was like, did they say Latvia weird?
Mm.
And also, is he Latvian? Like, when did that happen?
Yeah.
Because his name is Von Doom.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
well, he's not
Well,
Latvian. That's not a Russian. That's not a Latvian Soviet name or anything like that. Like,
They need to make up his evil name. Do you not know you could when you become a superhero, it needs to be connected directly to your name. It's either you get named after your power or your name, or you're called Mr. Fantastic. If you're the leader of the group, you get
Yeah.
called the name of the group. It's so
you get the
bad.
best name.
Yeah. The other thing I found just weird was that the mask that Doctor Doom ends up wearing is one that he won as a prize for something in Latveria, and I'm like, that is such
Yeah.
a fucking terrifying mask to have as a prize.
No, it was a-
Like-
Yeah.
It was a children's game that he just entered. It was meant to be a child's thing.
And even like the fact that his face is peeling, he's pretty blue about it because he's a pretty boy and likes being pretty. And then he puts that mask on. You're like, well, that's more horrific than
That's worse.
anything that's
Yeah.
going on.
that's that's what I was
terrifying.
thinking. Like, oh, my face is starting to look a bit metallic around the edges. Better cover it up with
Right.
a massive metal mask.
Yeah, like a part of me almost respects it. It's like someone who starts going bald and they're like, all right, fuck it, I'll just shave the whole thing off.
Well, it's like
Yeah,
going
exactly.
bald. It's like someone going bald and saying, like, I'm going to wear a really bad bald
I'm
cap.
gonna wear a bald
I'm going to
Yeah.
make people really question if I'm bald or not.
Like there's so much in this film where it just doesn't make any sense. Like something that really like bothered me was the Human Torch die. I can't remember his name. Johnny Storm.
Yeah.
Of course it was. I didn't even know it was Johnny Storm. I just took a wild guess that it was Johnny.
Well, he's a sister. Nope, he's a brother of
Yeah.
Susan Storm.
Susan
Susan.
Storm, yeah.
Oh,
Storm.
was Susan like a better name back when this comic was first written?
Maybe.
Is Susan
yeah.
just a name that's aged badly? Because I just associate it with Susan from The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Oh, yeah.
And she's like
Yeah.
sort of that older sister, very old-fashioned, kind of like regal, but also an evacuee.
Yeah.
Vibe. I get very distinct vibes from Susan that I do not get from blonde Jessica Alba.
No.
Right, yes, yeah.
But yet they kill the Human Torch off. Like they pretend that he's dead.
Oh.
They kind of go like the audience might think he's dead.
Oh, with Chekhov's
don't.
heat-seeking missile.
Yes.
Right.
But it's like it's set up so the audience is meant to believe that he's dead.
Mm.
But I don't know about you, but I didn't.
I thought it was
No,
just it was
no.
supposed to be set up so that Von Doom thought he was dead,
Yeah.
but we knew he was still alive.
I think it was meant to be that we
Because
thought
we
he was
see
dead.
him, we see him get it hit. We see him get was it a submarine or something?
It was like
It was like a garbage,
yeah.
a rubbish truck.
Yeah,
He
Which
just
is
sets
a
it on
thing
fire.
in I've seen that in a lot of movies where they like fall off that bridge that they've destroyed. So obviously it wouldn't happen in this one, but they fall off
Yeah.
that into like a literally.
I think it is.
It's like a ferry full of rubbish.
I think it's
Yeah.
a real thing.
That's a real thing that they have. That's pretty gross.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Um,
there is a
But at least
problem with that.
I assume that means there's not many people on there. Just the captain.
Yeah, they've only killed one person. That's fine. That's fine.
But
Yeah.
it wasn't the one. It wasn't.
Wasn't the one we liked, yeah.
Yeah.
So we do see him fall out of the sky and land on it as well. And I think it's meant to be like we're meant to think he's dead. And this is why I think it's so bad because I didn't, and I assume no one else did by your
Yeah,
reaction.
no.
Yeah, well, I didn't think we were supposed to. It was I thought
Yeah.
it was just like you see him look at the garbage ferry boat and then it being like and then he sends out because he's worked out he can send out those flamey things.
Yeah, he can.
So he
shoot
sends out
fire.
one of them to that, and then the heat-seeking missile gets a bit muddled
Mm.
and follows that. So then we know he's deflected the missile, but we don't see what happened to him after that.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
see
sort
him
of
fall
flies
out
off.
of the sky. There is a second shot of him falling out of the sky.
Well, I thought that was the missile.
No, it's him.
Oh.
There is like a thing, which is I think it's meant to be
Yeah. I
his
mean, it was
death.
at that point, I'm like, well, they're not going to. This is an origin story.
Yeah.
They're not going to kill him off. That's
The
not
sequel
how
was
origins.
just a
I think
Fantastic
that's
Three.
what's the Fantastic Three, I guess. Like, yeah.
But it's fine. It's fine that like my problem with it is it then goes on to Doom thinks he's dead. Doom tells Susan that he's dead. Susan goes, "Oh no!" And then in like 10 seconds later, he's back and no one really reacts. There's no
Yeah.
there's this setup for it to be like an emotional, oh no, my brother's dead. Oh no, but it needs to get through the action so quickly that there's
Yeah,
no
because
like,
Mr. Fantastic's frozen when she
Yeah.
finds out.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
she's
And so
trying to
it's
get
like,
that.
oh shit, we've got to
Something more
Oh
unfreeze.
yes,
important right
and
now.
at that point, Ben Grimm is Ben Grimm again because.
Yep.
And then he just manages to come back as the Thing and falls through a swimming pool on a roof.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like when he's fighting Doom.
And like, as if he would actually choose to be the Thing again. You'd be like, well, maybe they'll be dealing with it just fine. Like, I'm not going to become a horrific rock monster for the rest of my life. And like another thing with his character, there was a moment where I think it might have been when the blind girl, which another just terrible character, who's like hot for him in a minute just because she's blind, I guess.
Because
And
ugly
she's
people
like-
are only allowed to be with people who can't see them.
Naturally, of course. That's the rules of this world.
She cares about what's on the inside and not what's on the outside because she
Yeah,
physically can't
his
see it.
his rock
Right.
organs, which makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense.
But then she's like touching him and he's like, I think there's a line in there somewhere. I don't know if it's that scene or another one where he's basically like, oh, I can't feel it. It might have been when they're like even hitting him with something and he's like, shrug, can't feel anything. And then you're like, so does this guy, has he literally lost the sense of touch? Because if so, they should dig into that a bit more because that's horrific. If you lost this, like you were just like a numb void in space now and you couldn't ever feel it, that's so horrifying. Like play into that more, I guess.
I mean, they say he does. They show he does have reactions because they do the whole knee reaction-y thing that doctors occasionally
Right.
do to test your
But then it's just
reflexes.
very inconsistent then, I guess, when
It
when he
is,
does
and
it, doesn't
it's
it?
like, does he not feel pain? Can he still feel touch and pressure? Because obviously that
Yeah.
is technically different. But
Right.
it's like, is this his skin or is this like an outer layer of rock? And where does the sensation go? And they could have, he really should have been like the party tank, to use sort of like a D&D
Yeah,
term,
yeah.
where he's like the one that's really copping all of the damage
Sure.
and really going in full like what's Juggernaut style, like
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
punching this, like just headbutting his way to the bad guy
Yeah.
and clearing the space for the other sort of supporting characters to
Mhm.
I don't know, shoot flames from a distance or whatever.
Yeah,
But he's
yeah.
really
Yeah.
not used
No.
like that. He's just kind of everyone's no one's particularly sympathetic
He
to
uses
him
No,
as well.
yeah.
When he's like, okay, he's turned into a horrific rock monster. Everyone else has kind of cool powers, and
Yeah.
he is even uglier than he was as a human.
Right.
Okay.
His wife leaves him, and they're like, "Oh, so sad," and then move on.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
like, we're
Yeah.
gonna turn you
Yeah.
back, and he's like, he gets upset that they're not working like full steam after Von Doom is like, "Yeah, where do you think they are?" Like,
Mhm.
your scientists, if they're not, it's like, well, do you want a well-rested scientist doing this, or do
Yeah.
you want someone who's
Yeah.
like been working on this for like 72 hours straight on speed,
Right.
like to get through it and heal you? Because one of those is going to end very badly.
I kind of get all of his motive. Like, he's the only character that has actual motivations, and I kind of understand all of them because, yeah, everyone else gets cool powers, and everyone else can turn their powers off and on. His is
Yeah.
just on, and it's not good. Like, I'm sure it'd be just as bad if the Human Torch was on fire 24/7.
Right, exactly. Or the Invisible Woman could never be visible again. Like, yeah, I don't know if it's like doing Scaredy Boys for too long, but I was watching this thinking this would actually make an incredible horror movie where like the four of them go into space, get these supposedly awesome powers, but they're actually all horrific. Like if Stretchy Boy couldn't control his stretchiness and he just sort of, like if they all kind of almost turned into horror villains of some kind of another, with Rock Monster being an actual monster, Fire Guy being like a pyromaniac, Invisible Woman being like the Invisible Man from the more recently one-all Invisible Man, and then Stretchy Boy sort of not really being able to control. I'm like, oh, this would actually be awesome. It's like a creepy 4 villain group.
You'll end up with that thing where everyone. So like, if the Human Torch is on fire all the time, even if he starts out as like a good person, everything he touches sets on fire. Everyone will be scared of him. At some point, he's going to go, I might as well
Lean
fuck
into
it.
it.
Like I might,
Yeah.
I might as well just go with it.
And also,
Yeah,
can't be hugged, can't have intimacy.
No one can touch him.
And it's the same with like Elastic Man, Mr. Fantastic. Like he can't be cuddled because he just sort of compresses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone's like will always be suspicious of the Invisible Girl because she's permanently invisible. No one will trust her.
Like imagine there was some sort of real sleuthy crimes committed around the same time that she becomes invisible, and she's like essentially being framed for it and being trying to prove, well, it wasn't me. And they're like, prove it. It's like, how can I prove?
I think eventually those characters would become quote unquote evil, like that, and that would be interesting and more interesting. Than
That'd be awesome.
It'd have more of like the boys vibe. To it.
Yes.
But I think
they toe the line on what is good.
Yeah.
They love that grey area.
I think part of the problem with this film and like the action sequences and why the Thing isn't used as like the bulkhead of the team is. There's only one villain. There's only one person to fight. So it's like, if you have the Thing being the focus of the fight and like going in and punching, everyone else is kind of free to do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Whereas like, so he kind of has to lose the fight. But if there was like a load of other things for him to fight at the same time, he could be doing that whilst they deal with Doom.
Yeah, exactly. Because the way they deal with Doom at the end is like, I don't think
that's the only like cool part of the film. I think that's the only like this is actually
and
like
it's the only teamwork
team.
we see as well. Everything else is just them all sort of butting heads or kind of doing stuff at the same time, but not as a team.
Yeah, I think there needs to be more minions. This is why minions are important. This is why like small bad guys are important, because when you only fight one thing at a time, it's kind of like
Well, it's like the I think
really
a good example is in the Avengers when Iron Man has to go and like he has his role to go and get stop the nuke. And everyone else is sort of fighting the aliens. And there's like different sized aliens, and like Hulk's having to do certain Hulk things, and then Hawkeye kills at least 3 of them. And sort of all, like, but they've all got an important-ish role to play that suits their characters, rather than them all just sort of fighting one big bad guy that actually they take down. As soon as they start working together, they take down pretty easily.
True enough.
So and it's like, even then, Mr. Fantastic is only really using his brain because he doesn't really do anything stretchy to help out.
He sort of tangles himself around this guy, and it's like he does that horrible thing where he makes himself into like a blanket.
Oh yes, he blankets himself, and then he gets supernovaed, and then Sue Storm contains it, and then you get the line that's kind of equivalent to that bit in X-Men where she's like, do you know what happens when a toad gets hit by lightning?
Right.
Well, no,
but at least it makes sense in this, because Doom keeps saying that to Mr. Fantastic, because he's like, what happens when rubber gets superheated and stuff like that,
They're trying to constantly teach each other science, because they always, whenever they do those quips at each other, they say chemistry 101 or like biology 101.
Boy.
They desperately want to remind you that these are, in fact, scientists and not just superheroes, even though they're like the science is so far removed from this film.
Oh my god, yes,
But chemistry 101, what happens when metal gets superheated?
And then rapidly cooled.
So stupid. Also, like the whole like Mr. Fantastic turns himself into a blanket. The Incredibles do that better. They do it with a parachute. And there's like they only complain about it, and there's like 2 cool scenes. They're not even good. They're just kind of entertaining to watch because you have like the supernova scene is cool. Like they're doing teamwork, and it would have been better if they did teamwork more. But
yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. Yeah, because like they really just have one big fight scene at the end, where again it's hard to not compare it to the superhero movies we've got today, where there's multiple big set pieces and multiple versions of what we get, where this one is really just the like you said, there's one villain, Doctor Doom, and they fight him at the end once mostly, and that is it. And it feels weird that like the only other like villain is Johnny because he wanted to go away and be cool and ride his motorbike, and like that's the thing they've got to fight basically as a team. Like it's really weird.
the only other film that you can compare it to, like from the time, is The Incredibles, because at the end of the first Incredibles, they fight one bad guy. They fight the big bull robot, and the point of that fight in The Incredibles is that they work out that the parents work out that their kids can actually help.
Yeah.
And they don't need. They're stronger, like as a family.
Yeah. They have a better chance working together than them just trying to protect their kids.
But the whole fight leads up to learning that. Like they learn that across the fight, not just at the end of the fight.
Yeah.
Whereas like in
almost
the
by accident in this movie.
in the Fantastic Four, they're just like, well, if we do this, it will work. It's not like as the fight goes on, they don't go, we need to work together to beat him. We can't beat him individually. And I think that's like a much bigger problem with fight scenes in general is a lot of like Hollywood fight scenes. The fight scenes are just fight scenes. They don't continue, they don't like push the story forward. The best like action sequences are the ones that have like story tied to them, and they they like show character development over the action sequences.
Yes.
And it's like one of the worst for it, because they're just like, Johnny, go supernova. Okay.
Okay, the Thing, stand on that fire hydrant.
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, the whole movie culminates with him kicking a fire hydrant. Like, it's so crazy.
And like, Storm, can you hold it in with your invisible walls? And she starts to have a nosebleed. And that goes nowhere. It's not like she dies or she's ill or she's in hospital.
Yeah, there's none of that sort of, they hint that it's obviously it's a challenge for her with the nosebleed, but there's no repercussions. Like the first time you see that nosebleed, I'm pretty sure no one even comments on it.
No.
And it's not like, oh shit, is something happening to your brain? Should we take your blood pressure? Like, what's going on? There's no investigation. It's like, are you going to have a stroke if you do this again?
And that like the trope of superhero uses their powers so much that they like hurt themselves. It's such a cool trope. It's such like a good emotional.
Because there's stakes to them actually doing these things. It's not just it's the right thing to do and I have to do it because I'm a superhero. It's like, this could actually cost me something here.
Yeah, it's like actual self-sacrifice. Like it and that doesn't ever happen there's no self-sacrifice in this film, which is key to superheroes.
Yeah, I agree. It's like even like magic systems in fantasy books, like to my mind, the best ones are where there's a cost. Yes, you can use the magic, but there's always a cost to it. So it's always like it could run out at the worst time, or you could physically harm yourself at the worst time, or whatever it might be. Where you're right, in this one, they've gone for the easiest trope of a slight nosebleed, which wipe that away, happy days, get on with it.
That could not be connected to her powers. That could just be happening.
Just be prone to nosebleeds. We don't.
Maybe she's just taking a shit ton of coke.
Right, exactly.
Because like they've got to get she's got to help get this machine up and running.
She's been burning in both ends. Sure,
She's just tired.
While we're on bad tropes, another thing I wanted to point out is bad tropes and bad female characters. There's that trope of he knows what flowers she likes, he must be a saint. Like where Mystery's like, no, give her the sunflowers, she loves sunflowers. And it's like, oh, all is forgiven. This must be the perfect match for her because he heard her once say, I like sunflowers.
It was probably like in passing, she saw some pretty sunflowers and was like, oh, those are nice. Right. And he's like,
it's
got
like,
it. I'm the best boyfriend. I'm going to write this down in like.
It's like when you vaguely mention you like something and then you get that for Christmas every single time.
Maybe like every single present he's bought her has been sunflower themed, and she's like, I don't know how to tell him. I'm just not that keen. Like they're all right. It's just that all the other flowers that were in that shop didn't look very fresh.
Sunflowers are also a nightmare to keep, but
they're not.
Well, I mean to pot them and like they take up a lot of space. Like
I'm growing sunflowers at the moment.
A load of them.
They've all germinated way too quickly, and I am going to have. Okay, it's tangent. When you grow sunflowers, you have to do something that I feel is quite cruel. But they recommend you plant 2 seeds, let them both germinate and grow, and then you pluck out the weaker one.
Ooh, okay.
And now I've got
I-
all my seeds have germinated over the last week or so, and now it's time.
What a Sophie's choice. I'm a twin.
Yeah.
I was the weaker twin as well. I definitely came out smaller and blue. So thanks, Helena. That's yeah.
Well, if you were a sunflower, I'd kill you.
Oh God! Thank God I didn't come out of sunflower. That's good for everybody. I think.
No, I think they would have kept you around just because you came out of sunflower.
Yeah, could have joined this Marvel Cinematic Universe easily. At least the 2005 version of it, they probably would have let me slide in there.
The sunflower would be a great name for the Human Torch.
No, the sunflower's just his girlfriend that's constantly attracted to him when he goes on fire. Like...
She loves
So the other
sunflowers.
thing we need to talk about is the last line of the movie.
Is it the big four that he writes in the sky on fire?
No, I mean that's bad, but
Yeah.
it's the. Did any of you guys note down the line when he kisses? They have that kiss at the end. Not Johnny, Reed and Susan.
Yeah.
No, Johnny and Reed.
I mean that fan fiction exists, you know it does.
Yeah.
So she goes invisible because it happens when she's like emotional. As well
even
as
that's.
or potentially horny. We don't know.
Hey, yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, she's like, "That's my nose, genius. These are my lips."
Oh yeah, yeah.
What?
Oh yeah. If you're not cringing already, that's the ultimate cringe of the film.
Yeah.
And like he proposes to her, like she gets, fair play to Sue. She gets a lot of proposals.
Oh, and they're both awful. Like Victor, the way Victor talks to her, you're like, have you spoken to a woman ever? Let alone.
And like, are you actually in a relationship?
No,
Like
yes,
that's the thing. It's not clear. It's like, is she an employee? Is she like she's
Right.
clearly an employee? But have they actually
But
talked
he's
about
like,
the boundaries?
I'm
Have
going to
they
give you
had-
a promotion. Is how he does it, or something like that. It's,
Be like, you
sounds
fucking what?
It sounded very much like in Always Sunny, where Dennis is like, "Oh, if you talk to a woman on a boat, she has to say yes because of the implication." Like, he's gonna throw her into space.
And he gives her like the biggest rock of that ring is.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
bigger than the
Like-
thing. Like...
yeah.
To be fair, if any woman can escape, it's the invisible woman.
Yeah.
She's the only one that can get away.
True enough.
I mean, that's also probably why, Reed remembering her flowers is so important to her, because every other man in this film is terrible.
Well, that's true. Yeah, yeah.
Like you have.
Yeah, you would start to really appreciate Reed, wouldn't you?
Wow,
Be like,
yeah.
wow, this person has listened to 2 things I've ever said.
Right. No wonder they call him Mr. Fantastic. Oh my God, the ears on this one.
But like, they only broke up because he was essentially married to his work. He doesn't sound like he's changed though. There's none of that like,
No
he's
one
no
has a
longer
decent
married to his
arc.
work.
Yeah.
No,
The
what is
problem-
this?
Like,
Flubber?
oh, they'll be able to work together now because he's realized that he needs to put time aside to love her.
But also
Right.
now she is his work. Like his work is the Fantastic Four. She is part
Right.
of his work. He now has time for her.
So
That's
she's been
it.
promoted
Yeah, she's been promoted.
to sidekick. It is frustrating, and I think that's one of the reasons that I didn't connect with a lot of comic books and a lot of comic book films when I was a young girl as well. It was that like these women were just so tokenistic.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, yeah. Like,
Um,
they're barely
yeah.
people.
It's a lampshade in a dress. It's full lampshade in a
Yeah.
dress.
Yeah.
Like if you can.
She's an
If you-
invisible lampshade in a dress. Yeah.
Yeah, she's literally
With matching, like the matching lingerie kind of
It's so weird.
thing. It's like,
Yeah.
But I mean, also, yeah, I think I don't know. Like, part of me is like, well, why can't she have matching underwear? Like, lots of women like
Right.
having matching, and then
Sure,
part of me is
sure.
like, but that's not the reason they did it.
Yeah, no,
that's what the
like,
choice. Yeah.
having that underwear is fine. The problem is she's constantly being asked to strip. Like
And
Yes.
for her
yeah.
powers
yeah,
to
it's
work,
this
she
guys,
has to
these
be
men
naked.
doing the bare minimum and being
Mm.
applauded for it when she
Yeah.
has to
Right.
go through so much. Like her relationship has failed. She's
Mm.
basically torn between 2 people and kind of cheating on her partner, who's also become psychotic
Right.
or more psychotic.
She thinks her brother's dead.
She thinks her brother's dead.
No wonder she's got a
So, like-
nosebleed. Jeez.
For like 10 seconds.
And she's so flat about it all, and then just really
Yeah.
happy that this man has proposed.
Well, because he
Right.
remembers the sunflowers.
I'm
Well, she
surprised
was a
he didn't like
conscience.
give her a bunch of sunflowers or something just to really
Mm.
hammer it in.
Because
But
that would have
it's-
been entertaining, and we're not allowed that. That would have been funny.
You know, her just being
allowed.
like, "Why sunflower? Oh,
Yeah.
they're your favorite." And she's like,
Hmm?
"Did
Not
I
sure about that.
say
Yeah, like that would have been funny. Not allowed. Not allowed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's I just that yeah, it really everything about Susan bugged me.
You can't tell.
I just and it's still an issue today. We're still
Oh.
it's like if a woman has a decent arc
Yeah.
and is a decent character, it's like
People
it's
complain.
like impressive.
And
It's,
it's
like,
weird
oh
that,
wow, they've done it, and it's
yeah.
like
And then at that
just
point you get
apply the same
the
rules
shit fans
that you would to
as
a
well.
man.
Like,
And then, oh god, oh heaven
Yeah,
forbid they
yeah,
have they give a male character a female character in a
Yeah.
reboot. Oh,
yeah.
So I feel like we should do out of tens.
Yeah,
I imagine
shall
they're going to
we
be universally low
Wrap
because
this up.
I think we have said one nice thing about this, and it's the end action sequence was all right. Our
Yeah.
highest praise of this film is parts of it are okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Damian, out of 10.
Things that
Super
Reed
no
remembers.
I'm gonna be generous.
Chemistry lessons.
Yeah. I'll be generous. I'm going to say 4.
And like I said, I really
I
like.
feel like the film encourages
Generous.
that score.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4.
So yeah, Fantastic Four. Let's give them 4 not so fantastic stars. But yeah, like I generally like the things that I also like. Like I said, I don't mind Ben Grimm because his character's actually got something. It's completely mishandled, but there is like I want a Ben Grimm movie is what I really want. Like him having to actually learn to love the monster within or without, I should say. As well as Michael Chiklis is a genuinely good actor. Like he's from The Shield, he's fantastic, and I think he actually did a fairly good job of the character. So like all my stars are going to him. I think he was the best part of it.
That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah, I think like 3. I think from me, 3 to 4. I don't know. 3 to 4. Supernovas. And like, everything in this film was so unmemorable. I can't work out which thing to give. So, 3 out of 4 things. Because yeah, I think there is a good film in this, and it's sad that no one has ever done it. Because it is well, no, someone has it. It's called The Incredibles.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to watch a good Fantastic Four film, that's the thing we've learned today. Just go watch The Incredibles instead.
Because there is like cool dynamics, there's family dynamics. There's like superheroes actually using their powers, which is shockingly rare. Normally they
Right.
just kind of like reserve and don't really use it. It's them doing cool stuff, and it could have been like Sue Storm can be invisible and create invisible walls, and like and they do that once throughout the film,
Yeah.
and she
Oh,
never.
you do get Elastic Man reaching really far to get some extra loo roll.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
That bit was
Classic
great.
gag. Everyone loves that.
they could have put the loo roll closer. Like
Who
look
doesn't
before
keep-
you go.
Yeah.
How does everyone else deal with that situation? But yeah, they could have had these really cool powers and used them, but there's a lot of potential, and it's really annoying, which makes it worse because it's annoying that it's always been wasted.
Yeah.
Yes.
Always.
Yeah, when you can come up with a better plot or just some tweaks that would have made
Yeah.
it more entertaining in a half an hour podcast, you're like, did they
Right.
even try
Yeah,
that hard?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
was there who went through the script? Was there
No
no
one.
one being like,
no
oh,
one.
how about we push this bit just a little bit further? Yeah, for that I'm gonna have to give it 3 Latvian hedge funds. Yeah, I'm just not ever gonna watch this again. Part of me now does want to watch the Silver Surfer just because I have no memory of it at all, and the bits that I can remember, I'm not sure are part of Terminator 2.
Probably should find the divide between those two.
I've
then.
definitely seen Terminator 2 more because it's excellent.
Yeah.
Silver Surfer is an alien, and I think is working for a
I am
world
absolutely shook that it's not Von Doom.
Like,
It's really blown my mind.
Forerunner for Galacticus or something like that, isn't there? Like Galactus
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
coming to destroy the world, and he's his forerunner or some.
Yeah, because
something
he's
I can't
putting like
remember.
big holes in the earth, and no one can work out
Yeah.
why. And at the same
Like,
time,
what's
he's being
this chap up to? What's this kooky
Yeah.
boy doing?
'Cause from what I remember, like the only like complicated bit is Silver Surfer isn't actually evil. He's like a slave, and like
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
it. He's
We'll definitely have to
Just
watch
following
that one
orders.
at some point.
yeah. We'll
We don't have to.
watch it. We know we don't. We really don't. There's a lot of sequels we keep saying we'll watch that. We won't.
We
We're not
haven't
going
got
to.
around to
Yeah,
them. No.
No, we're not going to.
No.
I refuse. This was enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to give this 4 science lessons that I learned during the movie.
So what did you learn? You learned freezing elastic.
Freezing elastic, heating elastic, superheating and
Mhm. Yeah,
supercooling
we can do both
metal,
sides.
and what happens if you go to space with 1 day's planning. That's what I learned.
Yeah. Was there no one else on the space station?
No,
There
that
was
was
just the 5 of them. No,
Yeah,
the
it's
Silver
just 5.
Surfer was there too. You just didn't see him. That's the twist.
He's got very good camouflage if there's anything metal around, so he's really hard to spot.
He's- no, he was working there. That made him silver. He fell into some silver whilst he was working,
He was wearing a silver necklace.
and his DNA became part of the necklace. It's so stupid.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, isn't that part of it that like the ring that he gives her at the end that Reed gives her is like part of the ship? Was that so that she can wear it and it goes invisible?
I think so.
Because I'm like,
Oh, shit, I hadn't even
but
thought
why
about
doesn't it
that.
also
Right.
catch fire and be really stretchy?
It might be.
And be wrong.
Admittedly, it's like a metal Rob. It's a metal like
It's like a
No.
gasket or something.
nut.
isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a gasket.
Washer.
Which
Something.
wouldn't
Right.
fit on the human finger, so it has to be stretchy, which implies that it can
Okay.
become fire.
Or rocks.
Oh, great if it takes up smoking.
Yeah, like you can set itself on fire, which fine.
So what we're saying is that one small metal circle is a better superhero than the 4 of them combined.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
and
for
should
sure.
be part of the Incredible.
Should get its own spin-off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, with that, I have been Dan.
I've been Michael.
I've been Helena.
I've been Damian.
And Damian, where can people find you?
So you can find me either by listening to the Skinny Boys podcast, which you can find wherever podcasts are. That's sort of how it works. Or you can find me on Twitter at Midday Pajamas.
Awesome. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
Pleasure.
Less thank you about the film, but thank you for coming.
Yeah, look,
on.
Yeah, how much autonomy did Dan tell you to watch this? Was this Dan's choice or
No,
your
so
choice?
this is 100% on my shoulders because I chose it, and then Dan told me that you guys were doing the superhero run anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's good. And then I watched it. I'm like, oh, that's not good. Sorry.
Because at the start you were talking about Spider-Man, and I was just sat here the whole time thinking, we could have watched Spider-Man.
watched that.
Yeah, it holds up a lot better. Yeah,
Or at least watch Spider-Man 3. Like that would have been fun.
yeah.
Yeah, only Spider-Man 3. Anyway, you can find this podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Hilton Pod. That's at HILTM Pod. We're on Discord as well. Anywhere you find podcasts, you can leave us a review. Hopefully you give us higher than 4.
Unless it's a 5-star review, then 4 is fine.
Yeah.
We'll take 4.
pretty
4 is
good,
fine.
yeah.
Yeah. Seems fair. Especially if people are, I don't know if anyone's watching the films before they
Shouldn't.
listen to this. Because I'm
Yeah.
like, maybe
They're
listen to
definitely not
podcasts
watching it
first.
afterwards.
No.
We're ripping it to
Very
pieces.
rarely watch it afterwards.
Spider-Man